Hello BookTube, my name is Zoe, and in this video I'm going to be talking about all the books I've read so far this year. As I've been trying to get back into making YouTube videos, I've realized that I should probably update the 4 people that are watching my videos about what books I've read so far this year. So let's do it, let's give a rundown. Basically, I've been in like a 2-year reading slump and just have not been able to get back into reading. So in January, I bought a Kindle and I've been loving it and I've read every single book on my Kindle. But when I bought it, I didn't even know what to read, so I went online and I was like, what book should I read to get me out of a reading slump? And TikTok told me to read The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. The Housemaid is basically about this girl named Nina, and she's kind of this ex-convict who really needs a job to stay out of prison. So she gets this job working as a housemaid for this very rich family, and all is not what it seems. This book can definitely get you out of a reading slump. It's really fast-paced, and you could probably read it in one sitting. If you want something really easy to read, I'd say, yeah, go for this, but the plot twist at the end isn't all that crazy, and I thought it was pretty predictable and pretty much predicted it within the first half of the book. I thought the writing, while easy to read, wasn't magnificent in any way and wasn't really very good. And overall, I rated this 3 stars on Storygraph. Didn't love it, didn't hate it, kind of predicted the ending, but was easy to read and kept me interested until the end. For the next book I read, I went back to TikTok and searched what thriller book can I find and read that I won't predict the ending for. And there I found The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This book is about a psychotherapist named Theo who goes to this insane asylum to meet this woman named Alicia, who several years prior had randomly come home one day, shot her husband 5 times in the face, and never spoke again. She went completely mute. So he's gone to this insane asylum to figure out why she did it. I would say this was definitely better than The Housemaid. The writing was definitely better. However, I had a much different taste in my mouth leaving this book than The Housemaid. I had the vibe that the author kind of cheated the reader a little bit. I felt like a betrayal a little bit from the author. However, the plot twist was less predictable, but it did slowly kind of unravel throughout the book. Overall, I did find this one better than The Housemaid. I gave this one a 3.75 on Storygraph. Would I recommend it? Not really, but I would recommend it before The Housemaid. So the next book I read was called Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bastarrica. This book was on my radar for years. I just remember seeing the cover in Barnes & Noble and Waterstones, and I was like, one day I'm going to read that. And I did. Tender is the Flesh follows a guy named Marcos. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really remember his name very well. It takes place in a world where all animal meat is like poison. You can't eat it anymore. So people have started consuming human meat, and our main character works at a human meat processing plant. For a book that has always sounded very interesting to me, I found it miraculously boring. I hated the main character. I hated all the side characters. I hated the plot. I hated really everything about it. To each their own. There are certain people that really, really love this book, but I just found nothing to grasp onto, I guess. I don't know. I just felt a lot of nothingness for this one. This is future Zoe coming in to say that I rated that book 1.5. I guess I just disliked that book so much that I didn't even want to say my rating, so I don't know what that means, but for the next books I read, I decided to read the entire Shatter Me series. I read the first 3 books when I was like 14 and loved them, but I never finished the series when the author released more, so I decided to pick them back up again and just reread the first 3 and finish the whole series. The series includes like a bunch of books and also novellas in between each book. So there's Shatter Me, Destroy Me, Unravel Me, Fracture Me, Ignite Me, Restore Me, Shadow Me, Defy Me, Reveal Me, Imagine Me, and Believe Me. And these are all by Tahada Mafi. I loved the first 3 when I was 14, especially Ignite Me. That was always my favorite one. Ignite Me still holds up as the best of the first 3 books. I think of the second half, I think Defy Me was definitely my favorite. It went in a course very different than the first 3 books. The second half of the series is very, very different. It's a lot darker. Overall, I think this is a very young adult series. I think I'm a bit too old for it now. I think like 13, 14-year-olds would absolutely love it. Basically, the series is about a woman named Juliet who has a lethal touch. Anyone she touches, she like instantly kills. So the series starts with her in prison because no one trusts her not to kill people, I guess. I think overall, I'd give this series around a 3.5 stars. It's very fun. Would I recommend them? I think it depends on the age of the person asking. If it's a 14-year-old, yes. If it's a 23-year-old, no. After that, I moved on to The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is like a mystery about a girl named Belle whose mom went missing like 16 years ago, something like that. And they're currently filming a documentary about her mom's disappearance when her mom comes back, and she doesn't know why. So she goes on this mission to find out. what's happening. Is her mom good? Is her mom bad? Was her mom involved in her own disappearance? What actually happened? This one was fun. Definitely still YA vibes. I think I realized through this whole YA reading experience that I don't think I'm really a YA reader anymore. Definitely fun to read if you want to read a book about making a documentary. I've not read any other Holly Jackson books. This is the only one I've read, and I gave this one about 3 stars, I think, on Storygraph. I definitely wanted to stick to the end to see what happened, but I wasn't as hooked as I would have wanted to be. Moving on to potentially the best book I've read this year, 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This book follows a guy named Jake who is a high school teacher, I believe, and one day his friend shows him a portal to the past in a diner, and he's set on this mission to attempt to stop the assassination of JFK. I mean, this book is great. Very, very, very long. Something like 850 pages. This book is long. Hope that people aren't daunted by this because it's definitely meant to be 850 pages. I don't think I really ever thought, oh, he could have got this out, or oh, he could have, sped this up a little bit. Though this is considered like a medium-paced thriller, I would also very much class it as a romance. And it's also historical and science fiction and all that as well. It's like a mix of so many different genres, and it's really great. I've been debating watching the TV show, but I also feel like I'm scared that they'll ruin it. So I'm debating in my mind. I gave it a 4.25 on Storygraph, so not a perfect 5, but very high up. Would highly recommend. I need to read another Stephen King now. This is the first Stephen King book I've ever read. Next book I read was called Devolution by Max Brooks. This book follows a woman named Kate. It's actually her journal entries, and these journal entries follow her and her husband as they move to this remote, very small town in Washington State. The town is very closed off, but very technologically advanced. The story really picks up when Mount Rainier erupts and cuts them off from the rest of civilization so they can't leave, and then Sasquatch starts hunting them down and killing them. I really wanted to like this one. I love a good horror. Though overall, nothing the characters did in this book was believable at all. I really questioned everything they did. This book was by the same guy who wrote World War Z. Maybe that one's better. I just did not connect with this one at all. I gave it a 2.75 on Storygraph, and I just really wanted a lot more from it. The next book I read was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This book follows both Aiden and Lucy. It goes dual point of views. It's very much Sleepless in Seattle vibes. Aiden works at this radio show. Lucy's daughter phones in and she's like, listen, my mom is single and helpless, and help her find a match. This is not rage bait. I really did not enjoy this book. This is one of the books I've had the biggest problem with this whole year. I thought all of the writing for all of the characters sounded exactly the same. None of them sounded different from another, especially the 2 main characters. They spoke exactly the same. There were no differences. And I also just found a lot of problems with everything in this book. I really didn't like it. I would not recommend this one. Apologies to anyone who loved it. I've seen so many people talking about this book online. I gave it a 2 stars on Storygraph. I don't have much to say that's positive about this book, so I will move on. The next book I read was We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kleiwer. This book is about a queer couple named Charlie and Eve who are basically renovating this old house. They're like house flippers. And these people come and knock on the door and they say, hey, we used to live here. Oh, roll credits. They knock on the door and say, hey, we used to live here. Can we just pop by and have a look around? And soon you realize that they are not leaving, and we don't know why. This book started out so good. I really enjoyed the first half, and then it just turns into a completely different, more psychological vibe than horror vibe. I didn't outright dislike this book, but I really wanted something different from it. As you can probably see by now, I'm not great at picking books. I gave this one a 3.25 on Storygraph. There were definitely parts of it that were really interesting, like all the Morse code that was woven into the story, all the hidden messages. That was really cool, but overall, I thought it took a direction that I started to lose sense of really what was going on in the first place. So yeah, 3.25, didn't hate it, didn't love it. Next book I read was The Ministry of Time by Kaylee Ann Bradley. You never actually find out the main character's name in this book, I don't think, but basically it is about a woman who is a liaison to expatriates coming to the UK, but instead of these expatriates coming from different countries, they're instead coming from the past. I think I partially read this because I just read 11/22/63, and I was like, well, this one is sci-fi, time travel, romance. It sounds very similar. Maybe I'll enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy this one, obviously, because I hate all the books I read, apparently. The writing for me just felt kind of pretentious, and I didn't really connect to any of the characters. The ending, however, I really enjoyed. Like the last 50 pages I thought were really good, but everything before that really I was just not connecting with at all. I gave this one 3 stars on Storygraph. Now for a book I finally enjoyed, I read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This book is about a guy named Ryland who wakes up on a spaceship. He has no idea who he is or why he's there, but he slowly realizes that he is on a mission to save the world. This one is just so sweet and so good. It's so heartwarming. I'm so excited that they're making it into a movie. I don't want to give too much away about this one, but yeah, really heartwarming. Would recommend this to anyone. Even to people who don't really like science fiction, I would say that this isn't really what the core of the book is about. I give it a 4.5 on Storygraph, and yeah, just a great book. The next book I read was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Listen, y'all are gonna hate me. I really didn't like this book. Oh, I didn't hate it. This book is about Hamish's games, and he was in the 50th Hunger Games, which means it was a quarter quell, which meant there were double the amount of tributes in his games. I just felt like this one was the most unnecessary of all of the Hunger Games books. I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes 2 years ago. Loved it so much. This is like one of my favorite books. It was so good, and I thought it really added so much to the Hunger Games lore. But this one just didn't really do it for me. I didn't find it quite as sad as everyone was talking about, and just felt everything was kind of predictable. Yeah, again, not rage bait, I'm so sorry. I gave this one a 3 stars on Storygraph. Then I read The Deep by Nick Cutter. This book takes place in a world where there is this disease called the Gets, which makes people forget pretty much everything. They start by, oh, I've forgotten my left from my right, and then suddenly they've forgotten what eating is and what talking is. But the government has found this thing underwater called ambrosia, which might help cure this disease. So our main character goes underwater, deeper than the Marianas Trench, to hopefully get more of this ambrosia and to save the world. This was my least favorite book I've read this entire year. I would say heavy trigger warning against harm coming to animals. That happens a lot in this book. Why? I couldn't tell ya. I thought it was pretty unnecessary. And then the end just again goes on this strange, weird, different route than you would expect. I've heard that The Troop by Nick Cutter is better, but I also feel like as I've read this, I don't think I'll ever read any more Nick Cutter. The vibe I was getting was not for me. Future Zoe once again coming back in to say that I rated this a 1 star. I guess I just couldn't even bother saying the rating again. My 2 least favorite books. I think I found out that I am the most critical reader on the face of the earth and hate more books than I like. So please, give me book recommendations down in the comments. I'm trying to expand my reading tastes and find what I enjoy reading. So far, I think I do like a bit of science fiction, but that's all I've really been enjoying so far this year. So if anyone can crack the code on what I like, please let me know. And yeah, that's my reading year so far. See you later.